Hi there, my name's Mark Wells and I'm here once again to talk to you about the FES Flower Essences. And today we're going to talk about one of the flourish formulas again, called Mindful. A very popular one and a very effective one. And first of all, prior to talking about it in its own right, I'll be talking about three essences that are actually in it. So you'll get a flavour of what it's about, but they're very important essences that I've used a lot of in this month. I'm going to start with the one that I probably use most of at this time of the month. So Shasta Daisy is the first one I'm looking at. I can say that I know that I've given it to a lot of Year 12 students coming up to exam time, coming up to assignment time, because it is a wonderful essence to take when someone is studying. But Shasta Daisy is particularly good to help you integrate a whole lot of ideas into one. So if you're studying something, for example, or you're looking at something there and going into depth and understanding it, oh, there you go. Oh, I can see how that makes sense if you apply it over here. And when you think about it, that's one of the clever things in clever people. It's that ability to apply themselves in one area, get to know that and say, ooh, so if that works there, I can see how it would work there. And Shasta Daisy is that sort of broad-minded look at things. The opposite to that, and this is where it's very good for people who are very good at collecting information. And we have a society that's very good about, keeping general knowledge and often regurgitating that in exams. I'm not saying all of it, but a lot of it is that, and it's more about memory. But Shasta Daisy is helping say, well, if you've learnt those details, how can you apply it elsewhere? And many years ago, people used to just get a degree, and people would employ them, even if the degree didn't relate to their job, because they'd say, well, if they're good enough to go into something in that depth, they'll be able to apply that reasoning and that understanding and thinking and learning process where we are. So Shasta Daisy is all about that, integrating things. On another side, when it's not about learning necessarily, it can be in people's lives when they've got a lot of different inspirations, ideas, directions that they have to consider. And they've got to somehow consider all of those to make the next move. They can become overwhelmed with that there's a lot of inspirations and not knowing the direction to really go. And it's funny, I often find with people that really need Shasta Daisy, and particularly those people where it's been a recurring theme for them over the years when I've seen them in private practice, they can be sometimes a very cerebral person. Try to think it over and over and think through it, and successful in sometimes, but they can just get overwhelmed with the thinking process. They're not getting a gut feel for it. They're not able to really assimilate all that information so they can digest it and then learn, get the wisdom from it, rather than just having a whole lot of facts and details. What happens there is often people get physical complaints above the shoulder, whether they're sinus sufferers, whether they're headache sufferers, or they're constantly going to the osteopath or chiro because their neck's out. And to me, it's a bit of a disconnect, to their body, their heart, what do they feel? So Shasta Daisy is really good when, you're really good at picking up info, but you don't really assimilate that well. You don't seem to be able to apply it to something else, or say the next time you see something, well, I don't need to learn that because I understand that from this. So brilliant remedy in that sense. So a really good one, as I say, in study drops for students or anyone who's doing education, but also to broaden people's minds and particularly get a much broader view of all the things they have to consider and assimilating those and bring them together. The centre of the Shasta Daisy looks like a mandala, so it's that, forever you can see the connection, everything just goes into one. So it's almost like, I always say, it's getting you thinking and digesting all that, and then say, oh yeah, I get it, this is what I want to get from it, and this is what I got from it. Okie doke. The next one's Mardia. Mardia is a fantastic remedy for focus. but focus on the important details. It's not, it doesn't make you a person that just, picks up on every single detail. It allows you to be very discerning. They're the important details. That's just a detail that doesn't need to be recognised. And focusing on that, whether it's knowing the next move, what we need to do next, whether it's what's important to get done now. I've said about this remedy that I find extraordinary the amount of times that people have taken this and come back to me and said, oh, I painted the room at the back of the house that I've been putting off for so long. But it's such a good, if you like, metaphor for what Marty is about. They needed to get that done. So it can help with procrastination, but it prioritises what's important. And that was really important to the person, but they hadn't done it. So Marty is very good again in study drops to help people focus. And one thing I find with the Martia, just like doing a paint job, you have to remain focused for a long time and deal with detail. It seems to give people energy in that area. So their attention span is longer because they're doing it easier. They're doing it in a more relaxed state. They're not trying so hard. They just can remain focused for a longer period of time and get what they need to get done and make good decisions. Morning Glory is the other one. Morning Glory is just a refreshing remedy. It refreshes your body, it refreshes your mind. And it's a fantastic one, getting you into the natural, health-inducing 24-hour biorhythms, our circadian rhythms. And that's why it's often used for people who suffer, when they're suffering from jet lag, to help the body readjust faster. And also if our lifestyle's gone that way. I mentioned students, a lot of the time need this because they're studying late. And then of course, how long does it take to unwind after you've been studying late? So this sort of sleeping late, sleeping in, all this sort of stuff. And it's not, sometimes that works for some people, but for the majority of people, it throws them out of their best pattern, the one that works for them better. And sometimes you have to be in that. If you work or whatever, you need to be able to functioning in that alongside most other people in the 9-to-5 life. So Morning Glory helps you get back into the best rhythms. I like it because it's a real immediate effect. Morning Glory does spark people, and they find that that when they take it, that they do have better energy. I always almost put it as a standard when people are trying to get off some of the common addictions, and coffee and cigarette, or any of the stimulative things that people are using to stimulate. So this helps with your energy, so you're not going for that coffee as much, so you're not going for the thing. There's other things you need to bring in, but Morning Glory at least helps you establish your own healthy energy rhythms. So great remedy, but very much about clear-headedness. So the mindful formula, of which, or in which those three remedies are, is all the things we mentioned, but it's about having the clear mind, but it's also about having a calm mind. You can focus with clarity, but you can do it in a relaxed way. Peppermint's in it, and I think that is the epitome of that. Peppermint is a stimulant, but it's also a relaxant, a calmative, and digestion and things. And that's the beauty of it. It calms the person, but it helps them to be more alert. Mindful might be a really good formula for those people, for teachers, towards the end of the year, or even for students, of course. Because peppermint I've used a lot for them, that where the mind's just, it's tired. So it'll help with the lethargic thinking, but at the same time won't be an overstimulating thing. You'll be calm. So there has this really nice balance in there, in mindful, to remain calm, but be clear-headed and focused at the same time. Which you don't want to be too calm and you don't want to be too clear-headed and just be agitated and on edge by it. So it's a really good formula. So good luck with those. They're for everyone. In the formula, mindful, any mindfulness will help people, and even just stopping to take those drops a few times a day. The pause in your life is incredibly therapeutic, let alone the mindful formula that you'd be taking, all those essences we mentioned. So thank you. I'll speak to you next time.